I've always been very into mythology in general. I love finding the lore behind things, especially now that I started playing League of Legends. I like looking up the lores behind all of the different characters and kind of what they came about and their backstories. And it's kind of strange that I've never really looked into an entire category of mythical Pokemon and trying to figure out what their roots are and where they come from. So, with that being said, I kind of want to start a new series now where I just do research on all these different mythical Pokemon and trying to find out what their origins are, what Pokemon did to create these little characters, and what inspirations they used. Roll the intro. Yo guys, it's your boy Juan from Pokeballers with Team Next Phase, and today we're gonna be starting this new series where we're gonna explore all the lores and the myths behind Pokemon's mythical Pokemon. And we're not starting with number one because in here we don't like to do things the right way. We don't like to make things easy for us. We're starting with Shaymin instead of Mew. And the reason I want to start with Shaymin is because I feel like it's the most forgotten mythical or one of the most forgotten mythical Pokemon. People don't really give it the love or respects that it needs. And it's something that I actually found pretty interesting because I started looking up Shaymin and looking up myths and what it could have possibly been based on, and I found absolutely nothing. So I spent like a good hour, 2 hours just looking up stuff that could possibly fit into the whole convolution that Shaymin is between it, the grass on its back and it being a hedgehog, but also turning into a flying dog and all that stuff. And I actually found some pretty interesting stuff. But before we get started, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't done so already, to leave a like in this video, subscribe, and leave a comment. It really does help out the algorithm in this brand new channel we're trying to grow as a community. And if you guys haven't done so yet, go check out everybody else that's part of Team Next Phase in the description down below. Okay, so Shaymin. Shaymin is clearly a little hedgehog, and it has grass on the back. But when I did research on it, it told me that it wasn't grass. It's actually moss. From the movie, the Shaymin movie, Professor Oak actually says that it is moss that grows from within its back, and it just populates its entire back area. And this moss can change in hardness depending on the emotional conditions of Shaymin. That's also very like the little flower that it has on one of its ears. That flower grows from inside Shaymin's body, and he can produce, or it can produce, more flowers depending on its status. If it is happy, if it is content, it will sprout more flowers out of its back. If it is sad, it will reduce the amount of flowers that are coming out of it. We don't know what happens if it's angry, but I have a theory. I think if it's angry, it will switch into the Skyform because that's the form that does damage. But more on that later. We're gonna start with the hedgehog form. Now, there's a Slavic myth of a plant called, and bear with me now, I'm sorry about my pronunciation if you're from Serbia or Macedonia or any of the other Slavic countries, but it's called the Rasknovnik. Rasknovnik. I don't know. I'll put it up here. You guys can see what it's called. It is also called the rainbow root, so we're gonna call it the rainbow root from now on, not its mythological name. And this mythology about this plant is that this little tiny moss, four-leaf clover looking plant opens up anything. It is a magical key. And by anything, I mean it opens up anything from doors to the ground for it to produce more flowers, to the mind. Opens up a mental state for people to be more open to things and more accepting of things, and change just people's mentality in general. This plant is said to not be very rare to find. It's very common, but it's very hard to identify. So the way people identify these plants is you either have to be trained specifically for the identification of these plants, or you have to have some sort of animal to help you identify these plants. This is where the hedgehog comes in. So now we already have the moss established, we already have the plant. That's kind of the opener of things established. Now the hedgehog comes in a Serbian myth. So specifically to Serbia, they said that the best way to find these plants was to get a young hedgehog and lock it inside of a box. And then the mother hedgehog would wander around trying to search for this plant, find it, and bring it back so the plant could unlock the box and let the baby hedgehog become free. Now, hedgehog in general tend to be very docile animals. They tend to be animals that are hardworking, and they just do their own thing. They don't really bother anybody. The only reason that their spikes come up is for self-defense. So it's kind of like Shaymin retracting its flowers and harboring its moss for self-defense. So now we have the perfect pairing of the two, of the hedgehog and the flowers in the back, and it kind of fits the description of Shaymin not only on a physical sense because it's the moss growing out of its back, but it also fits the description of Shaymin in, I guess, a personality sense, because Shaymin is always described to make things better around it. People used to pray to Shaymin, according to the Pokemon lore, asking it to make ground more fertile, allowing plants to grow, and Shaymin would come and would open up the ground and would let plants come out. It's also noticed that before in the Sinnoh region, there was a huge volcano, and this volcano would destroy all the crops of the people. And when Shaymin appeared, the volcano just subsided. It stopped exploding, it stopped destroying the crops, and it allowed the people to actually be able to farm and live happily. So that paired along with the magical powers of this herb, the rainbow root or Rasnofnik, is very, very similar to what powers they have. So it's a very obscure myth. It's very out there. I don't think I'm reaching too far when I say that they are very much correlated, but let me know if you guys found something different regarding Shaymin's myth. Now we're gonna move on to the Skyform. For Shaymin's Skyform, we take a complete 180. The personalities are completely different. The way the Pokemon looks is completely different, and the myth comes from a completely different place. This time around, the myth comes from Japan. Obviously, Japan loves to introduce their own mythology, or Pokemon loves to introduce Japanese mythologies into their own Pokemon. And with Shaymin, it wasn't going to be any different. The yokai that Shaymin's Skyform is based on is called the Hainu. And these Hainu are trickster demons or trickster yokai that just come around. They're very playful. They can be aggressive at times, but they're also known to be very loyal to people that they respect. So it's very much like a real life dog, where if you're a stranger and you're trying to mess with it, it's gonna bite. But if you're somebody that takes care of it, if you're consistently there for the dog, then it will develop a bond with you and it will be there for you and protect you. So with that being said, Shaymin's Skyform is 100% the description of this yokai. First of all, Shaymin's Skyform stats, when compared to Hedgehog Shaymin's stats, are a lot more offensive. It has 3 more normal attack, 25 more special attack, 27 more speed, and it significantly drops on defenses. So it means that it's a Pokemon that's ready to attack. It's ready to go. It's very fast, and that could imply that it also is very playful, more outgoing. It's not as reserved. It's not as stay still as a hedgehog, but it does have the qualities of a dog. It's fast. It's powerful. It's strong. But if it develops a bond with you, it's gonna protect you. It's gonna be strong enough to protect you. And if you mess with it, it's gonna be strong enough to do harm. So I think the embodiment of these Hainu yokai make a lot of sense when you're comparing it to Shaymin's Skyform. Now, the only thing that I don't really think we've covered in this entire episode is the flower. The flower that Shaymin uses to switch back and forth between forms. And that is something that I haven't really found when I was trying to do research. So if any of you guys happen to know what that flower could possibly be, maybe there's a flower that has shape-shifting capabilities in any sort of myth. Maybe even the Rasnofnik. Oh my gosh, that was a tongue twister, dude. The Rasnofnik flower will open up that new possibility for Shaymin to switch back and forth between its Sky form and its Hedgehog form. And that's just, they implemented that as a difference with the little flower in Pokemon, so that you wouldn't confuse it with just the moss on its back and it could freely switch around. You need the actual item to unlock it. But I think with that said, we've covered pretty much all the bases that I have been able to find for this myth of Shaymin, the lore behind it, the creation of Shaymin. So If you guys have anything different, if you guys know of other things that could have helped with this myth, if you guys know of any other roots that might maybe fit better or that might mix very well with this theory of mine, then let me know in the comments below. Like always, I'm always very interested to read what you guys are saying to me and to pick that up and use it for my next videos. And also let me know what other mythicals you guys would like to see, because there's a lot of very interesting mythical Pokemon that I don't feel are getting enough love in the community. So again, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys haven't done so already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We were looking at the stats the other day, and Funhouse told me that about 4,000% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Okay, we need to fix that right now. So we need to go down there and click the subscribe button. Okay, please, thank you. And with that said, I'm out. Peace.